The dusty winds of the forgotten suburbs whispered secrets that Alina could no longer ignore. Though she tried desperately to find solace in the rhythm of her solitary life. Once she had envisioned a home filled with the laughter of children and the warmth of a husband's embrace. But life had dealt her a different hand, leaving her barren and discarded like an old relic. Welcome, my story-loving family. Before we dive into today's exciting story, I have a humble request. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Your support really helps our community grow. Her ex-husband had left her for a younger woman who promised him the legacy she never could, leaving Alina with nothing but a small, crumbling bakery and a heart that felt perpetually heavy. Every morning she kneaded dough with a ferocity that masked her internal ache. Watching the world move forward while she remained frozen in time, the neighborhood was gray, a reflection of her own spirit, yet she maintained a quiet dignity that commanded respect from those who bothered to look. She was the woman who lived in the shadows of her own shattered dreams, finding purpose only in the small acts of kindness she could afford. The silence of her house was a constant companion, a cold reminder of the family she would never have. Yet she carried her burden without a single word of complaint to the universe. One Tuesday morning, the monotony of Alina's grief was broken by the sight of three small, shivering figures huddled near her bakery's delivery entrance. They were triplet girls, no older than 7, with matted hair and eyes that held the weary wisdom of the elderly. Their clothes were rags, and their skin was pale from the biting cold. Yet they clung to one another with a fierce primal loyalty that pierced Alina's soul. Without hesitation, she brought them inside, feeding them warm bread and thick soup, watching as they ate with a desperate hunger that made her eyes sting. Day after day, the girls returned, and Alina became their silent guardian, providing the only stability they had ever known in a world that had clearly abandoned them. She learned through their silence that they were orphans of the streets, ghosts in a city that valued wealth over humanity. Meanwhile, her ex-husband would occasionally pass by in his luxury sedan, throwing pitying glances at her modest shop, unaware that Alina was building a kingdom of the heart within those 4 walls. She spent her meager savings on blankets and small books, teaching the girls to read by the light of the bakery ovens. The betrayal of her body felt less sharp when she looked into their grateful eyes. But the whispers in town were cruel, mocking her for wasting resources on gutter children. Alina ignored the vitriol, fueled by a rising protective instinct she thought had died years ago. She saw the injustice of their situation, 3 brilliant lights being extinguished by poverty, and she vowed to be their shield. The pressure mounted as the bakery struggled. Yet she never cut their portions, even when she went hungry herself. She was a mother in every way that mattered, even if the law and her own biology denied her the title. The bond grew into something unbreakable, a secret defiance against a world that had tried to break them all. But then, a dark shadow finally loomed over their sanctuary. The inevitable day arrived when the authorities, tipped off by a spiteful neighbor, came to take the girls away to a distant state facility. Alina stood on the cracked pavement, her heart tearing from her chest as the social workers pulled the screaming children into a cold black van. They reached out for her, their small hands clawing at the air, calling her the name she had craved for a lifetime: Mother. As the van disappeared into the gray horizon, Alina fell to her knees, the silence of the street more deafening than any scream. She had lost them just as she had lost everything else, a final crushing blow to a woman who had nothing left to give. The injustice was a physical weight, a jagged blade twisting in her gut as she stared at the empty space where they once stood. Her life's purpose vanished in a cloud of exhaust fumes, leaving behind a void so vast it threatened to swallow her whole. The bakery grew cold, the ovens remained unlit, and the world moved on, indifferent to the tragedy. 12 years passed in a blur of lonely birthdays and fading memories until Alina's 50th year dawned with a strange electric tension in the air. As she sat on her porch, 3 massive shadows suddenly eclipsed the sun. and the roar of engines shook the very foundations of her small home. 3 sleek, white private jets descended toward the local airfield, an impossible sight for such a forgotten town. Moments later, 3 limousines pulled up to her gate, and out stepped 3 breathtaking women draped in elegance and power. They were the Triplets, now titans of industry, who had spent a decade searching for the woman who saved them. They did not just bring gifts. They brought a new life, a legacy, and the ultimate vindication against every person who had ever looked down on Elena's kindness. The Barren woman was now the mother of queens, her sacrifice returned 1,000-fold. True wealth, she realized, was not found in what she lacked, but in the love she had dared to plant in the coldest soil. Thanks for watching. Where are you watching from? Comment the name of your city.